sell on our site are team sanctioned. So if you're a broker and you come to us, whether you're a broker or whether you're a or Sweet Hop, I spent 3 years at Ticket City. Largest. Before that, I did some consulting. Kind of look into this and okay. Could be collaborative if I'm not mentioning. Using data to improve promotional. And how we can make we used to sit down and look at the schedule. So obviously it does. Basically is because of what schedule for various reasons. Aaron Rodgers. And another take. Because I found is to knock a candidate or school she's from, but she became a very bubble. But you got a lot. Does it sell tickets? I think when they put this together, they didn't. But I would say it's probably keep the fun a little bit. We are going. What we want to really discuss today Well, that's easy. It's off you. You have to have metrics. Are to drive revenue. Increase ticket sales or increase. Let's throw the bubble head. If you're $3 on your top game, be taken into account. So what I just said is how do we? Yes. It's a gift at your game. Getting that. This is when I put a little. And that would force people to buy other games. Be true because parents can take kids. But and again, each situation is. Next is we don't just want. On millions of tickets. So those sales. They might pay a premium in order to buy a bunch of your other tickets. At the end of the day, if you inventory off your hand, and then moving. I'm on the secondary market of where the sales are high at the beginning and they. That's just the way people buy tickets. Of it, Facebook, people sharing, and so that's where you can take into account all these outlets that are trying to sell tickets at a certain time, all this crazy and some don't.
The team or the stadium sells a certain amount of.
There's two ways to go about it. Well, three actually. I like to call it risk management. them to 2,000 accounts. And then that way, if the team has a bad year and all the brokers where this is being live streamed, so I don't want to and they have those distributed through StubHub, Vivid Seats, Hit City. Art, because a lot of folks here are from either if you do have a broker strategy that you take into account. And he was that's where they make money, and it was a lot of there for $5. I said, well, you're gonna. It's your own team strategy. Personal. You can go about it, and if your team just.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Don't really mean a lot, but this is what I mean about the ticket sales curve works during because I wanted to make a point that sending out email blasts like crazy. That liked your group, and it's just all going to come together, and it's and if your promotional plan says this is great, let's go ahead, and that first day in that and you sell quickly. I mean, that does marketing effort. A million times worse for concerts. I mean, it spikes and it drops. You have to take this into account, especially when you're analyzing how your sales went. I wish I could say there's analytics. Looking at these to make sure that they are you pick data points or a combination. I just made this up. I mean, last year might not have sold anything. This year, those are things you have to take in. Unfortunately, when what comparisons drive your decision? A lot of times people picked it as part of their mini plans. Hey, our are you into your analytics on I'm going to sell 10,000 tickets? That's or whatever. Not making like you're still getting $20 a ticket. Time of year, historical sales.
Drive ticket sales for future games.
The planning and where you would build closest. Market. If you have people there, they spend. Taking a look at, say, a 3 to 5 make sure that they're similar. And then relate that to understanding a promotion on them. That pretty much tells you it worked. That doesn't tell you if you promotion versus non-promotion comparison. It's this game sold less, this promotion worked. But at the end of the day, revenue, was it just displaced? No, there's no real comparison. And I put that there because I think it's important where, again, your promotion worked or not. And so one of them, and I think it's on if you have a game you sold discounted tickets, and you drive your tickets down to that's fine. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, probably did. That promotion really work? You could make the argument without a promotional item. It has to be measured if you want a true, if you're a team that you have some sort of partnership with them, or you can track it. There's I mean, you hit a home run. You're sold out, prices on the secondary, less hot dogs. For some teams, that's a big deal. If you look at premium seating, a lot of times the suite holders, they spend a ton in the suites on concession or on catering. And because of that, teams have deals where they get commission back. So that's actual real revenue. Now, every team's deal with the concessionaires is different, but it's something to take into account. If you spend a lot of money on a promotion, meaning hard cost for that product, and then you had to spend 3 or 4 months to sell out to groups, and then you're not selling any tickets, and nobody's buying any food, or your per caps are down. Normally it's $12 a ticket, it's down to $4, and your commission is, say, 50% from the concessionaire, or whatever, even if you get commission, then you have to account for that as part of your revenue streams at the end of the year. Because you might have sold more tickets for less, and then now you have all these groups in, or people that aren't spending money. You took a pretty big bath on that game. Doesn't mean you're taking a bath compared to, it just means the promotion didn't work. You know, at the end of the day, you could have spent how much money on marketing dollars as well, how many, you know, can't put a dollar amount on employee effort, but there's expenses that go into that. And if you have to try and try and try, and you're just selling discounts, and you're only measuring tickets, well, you're doing yourself a disservice because of the ancillary spends that can make or break a team at some point. So again, with defining and utilizing the key metrics, did a promotion actually move the needle? One of the ways to look at that is year over year by the individual customer. And so a lot of times what people do is they're what, you know, a marketing and sales department will do when they look for success is they'll just look at the game by game sales and the revenue. But if you look and you say, okay, this person bought a bobblehead for this game, every year they buy a bobblehead, pretty safe bet they're going to pick the bobblehead game. You don't know if they're going to buy that or not without it, but that's a pretty good data point when you're marketing back to folks. If you're looking at someone who comes to 4 games a year, in 1 year they randomly purchased that game and it falls within the same sort of realm of all the other games they purchased, maybe their family's only home for Christmas, and so they all go to a game together, and one day that just happened to be on this great game. Data points that you need to be aware of. It's a lot of work. It's actually easier to find, but that's how you start digging deep. So when we started talking about this, we were discussing kind of like the holistic global view of sales and revenue, but now you need to take it back into, you know, per customer might be a little bit aggressive, but per customer clusters. Take a bunch that bought different games and analyze and see. Because at the end of the day, you might find that most of your folks who buy December 2nd through December 31st are one-time buyers. And you're selling out all those games. There's no need to put a promotion on that game. They're there because it's the holidays, the families are getting together. We find in premium seating a lot that Thanksgiving, maybe 2 weeks before Thanksgiving through January 7th, you can charge a lot more for suite rentals, and you don't have to do a lot for them because companies just buy them for holiday parties or gifts or things like that. It's a similar concept. It's a similar data point. Without those data points, you're promotion, scattered spends, what I'm talking about, which I mentioned the slide earlier, sales, discounts. At the end of the day, if you're really struggling putting money towards these in marketing and you end up with a bunch of $10 tickets, don't even bother doing a promotion next year because you're going to work just as hard. Churches are still going to come, or just generally mix up the promotion, spend a lot less money on it, spend less marketing, and give something that's focused to that organization. We also talked, did you increase net revenue? Are your revenue, and then have you combined those with expenses? And so a lot of times promotions can be expensive, especially for minor league teams or college teams. Sometimes for pro teams, spending $2 a person to come in the game isn't a big deal. But for a team that's charging $8 a ticket, $9 a ticket, that's a huge cut in your margins. And so that's why you need to take into account the per cap spends and whatever your commission is on the catering. And then the time and the employee time and expense and the overall effort is, again, that might not be measurable, but it's something to take a look at. It may be measurable if you've had to hire 4 interns and pay them, even if it's a low minimum wage just for the summer, or just hours, or just part-time. That's still an expense. And if they're running your promotions, you need to mix that all in. Did you drive the increased ancillary revenue? The per cap metrics, ticket sales plus your catering commissions, we talked about. And then again, to beat a dead horse, the group sales discount ticket effect. At the end of the day, that's a pretty big metric there. So, those are things that need to be tracked. And so, creating the plan, well, I guess I'll stop. Does anybody have any questions? Anyone throw anything out there? Leaving me up on the hill to die alone, huh? Okay. So, I wanted to put this slide in here because I feel at the end of the day, if I share this, it could be a one-pager on what you want to look at when you're starting to create your promotional plan. Developing your goals first. Sadly, that seems like a pretty obvious one, but I think we've probably all been in a room where there's no goals around promotions other than let's get people to buy tickets. The goals need to be really defined. It can be a goal for each promotion. It can be a goal for each month. It can be for each team, but develop goals around an overall strategy and then an in-depth strategy. It's too important. There's too much money being spent on promotions, and your marketing departments have pressure to move these products and to promote these products correctly. And without a strategy, really everybody's just being thrown to the wolves. Create those data points and metrics per customer, like we talked about. Try to find apples to apples. Again, too often we look at year over year, and year over year isn't an apple-to-apple comparison. Things change. Your team, how many teams have gone from last to first? The Houston Astros won the World Series last year. 2 years before, I believe they were in last place, although Sports Illustrated picked them to win in a couple years. But that was a 2-year change. That wasn't a 10-year change. It wasn't a slow climb. It happened pretty quick. Nashville Predators made it to the Cup Finals last year. I don't think they made the playoffs the year before. They were an 8th seed, and they went all the way to the finals. So it changed like that. Look at the sales data, including your discount drivers, which we talked about. If you're discounting like mad to get the game to move, the promotion probably didn't help. Or, if you want to put a brand new promotion on the game, that's fine. Consider the sales curve like I showed you. Push those early. If you're seeing that it's selling out early, decide on the broker plan for risk management. Again, that's for teams and organizations that work with brokers, but I would make that a part of the promotional plan. If you do deal with them, if you do have a broker plan, there's no reason not to consider them part of your promotional plan and use it to your advantage, and consider them business partners. Consider all revenue and expense points. Again, the discount in tickets typically provide less ancillary spending, but the marketing expenses and the employee effort. A lot of times that's just like I talked about before, it's never taken into account. It says marketing has their own budget, they do some promotions, sales has their own budget, you guys sell, we'll market, and, you know, we're selling tickets, but if we don't bring that all together, we really don't know how effective we work in our plan. And then at the end of the year, or at the beginning of the year, throughout the year, you look at these. I put together these 10 questions, and again, a lot of this was around, you know, I said this was pretty wordy when I built this out, and the reason was because I wanted to make sure that I can give this to everyone or email it to you before you leave, and it has what we talked about. Too many times with these presentations, you know, some bullet points, and I talk a lot, and then you leave and you get kind of a shell of a presentation. So ask these questions, throw them at your bosses, throw them at your marketing department, your VP of ticket sales, your GM or your president or whoever, and don't let them just come in with these really fun, cool ideas and say, hey, yeah, we have this great idea, this is going to sell, this is going to be awesome, everybody's going to be happy. Say, did you define your goal? Ask them that question. Did you set multiple goals for each promotion in itself? Or do you have just one holistic plan? Because that's not going to work. If a bobblehead is so popular that it's going to sell out the game, then why don't you have a different plan for that than one that's like the Mike Trout fish head that was a really cool, fun thing, but you weren't throw that on that's going to. Did you sell early for each promotion? You know, ask that question. If we were struggling to sell out all of them, then they didn't move the needle, then let's just admit they were for branding, tab it as a marketing expense, and move on. Did you see additional marketing dollars? Did you spend additional marketing dollars? Did you develop secondary market or broker strategy? That's for anyone who works with brokers again. If you're an organization that works with them and you're setting the strategy, I would ask that question 100%. I would call brokers, say, what do you want? What can you do that can help us? What can be mutually beneficial? One of the biggest misconceptions of the broker industry is that they're guys on the corner selling tickets, and, you know, the tickets are bought with bots and they're shady, and these guys are stolen tickets. And the reality is, if you call them and you want to set up a partnership, they're businessmen, they want to make money. They're not in it to not make money. But if you're just selling them bulk loads of tickets, hoping they make promotions so you can get, or make profits so you can get them off your shelf, there's probably a smarter way to do it, and you can use promotions to your advantage. I also put up there, did the brokers provide false data? Something I didn't mention before, but if you have a lazy sales rep who's just dumping a buttload of tickets to brokers, I mean, that's not really indicative of a promotion order. What metrics do you have in place to track number 7? You know, everybody can talk about how we have these plans, but are we tracking that correctly? Have we taken a look at a time when we had a great game and we threw on a promotion and saw what the per ticket was and what the per cap was? And did it match up with a lower game? Is that more revenue than pushing promotions to B or C games? And that's where you look at the metrics in number 8. And by B or C games, I just mean, you know, so say you have an A game, which is your best, your B and your C. Is that more money than if you just push promotions to those smaller games just because you thought, because everybody's thought sports for 20 years that that's what you do, that you just throw promotions at the will just help. But if someone says that to you, then go back to number 8. Well, which metrics do you have in place? Prove to me throwing promotions at awful games is better than selling out these better games. And I'm not saying that selling out these games is going to force fans to buy tickets to other games. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we're gonna make more money if we do it this way. Now, again, I could be wrong, and it could be different for each situation, but those questions need answered. Because it's lazy just to go in and just start willy-nilly picking promotions, especially with the amount of investment we put into them. And then lastly, did you develop per cap metrics, including ticket sales and catering commissions? Again, I always found it ironic in sports where we have premium seating in one bucket, we have ticket sales in another, then across the hall we have advertising and marketing, and then somewhere down the building we have sponsorship, and then we farm out catering to another company that could be far away, and we each have our own budgets, and at the end of the year they're all given to the CFO, and he's, you made money, you made this much, and we're profitable or we're not. It's like, okay, that's fair, but shouldn't we all look at those numbers together? What if on these great games that you're selling more money, your per caps are going through the roof because a higher value customer is coming to those games, and you're charging $50 a ticket instead of 30, and now maybe you lost a little bit of money on ticket sales if you would have put it on a rough game, but you made more money. Yeah, and that's not the end driver. You want to build a fan base, but those are just metrics that you need to take into account. And I think for a long time, promotional build out has been so just kind of all of us in a room just making decisions, but there's a lot of data behind that we could do a little bit better of the job. So, and that's it. Any questions?
I had a question. So, I think, so I work in marketing and promotions, so for the sports that I oversee, I plan specific promotions for games and kind of just look years past at attendance, you know, okay, this game we did this promotion, this game we did this promotion. What are some, I guess, tools that you use to track this stuff? Because it's just something that we need to work with our ticketing office better at doing, but I feel like in terms of like track promotions, sometimes it can be a little bit hard.
Mm-hmm. So I mean that
systems are set.
that you can download the data to. Some of the data is easy enough where it can be built out of a CRM. You know, for example, if you just tag a game that has this promotion, you can pull all the sales data into Excel and do some basic work. There are some other tools that can provide some analytics visually, like Tableau, that work pretty well. There are costs to those, a lot of costs sometimes, and that is the problem. And then I think on top of that, it's pulling all. I think that's where most of the problems come into really fruition for the team, is that you can go by these tools. You have a CRM that can do a lot of the analytics. Most of them, you know, can't do all that you would need, but for the most part, some of the stuff we're talking about here is pretty consumer based, so it should be able to mix through Excel enough to at least get a starting point until you get a pure analytics software in. But then you're not going to have the concessions data, and you're not going to have the marketing spend data. So until your organization decides they want to at least have someone that pulls all that data together, it's still going to be a struggle. And so my advice is just for whatever you can control. So if you're tight with your ticket office, I would see what data I can get. If they don't have it in CRM, they have to have it somewhere. That should be able to be put into Excel, and it should give you a good starting point. I mean, it's not the best solution, but with tables and some basic stuff, it can get you started. Yep. Anything else? I bore everyone to death? Good. Well, a little early because I thought there might be some more folks in here, so can end it. But I will certainly pass out my business card if you guys would like a copy of this. I have it in a Google Doc where I can send it in a PDF, and then you can certainly email me with any questions. So.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you guys.
and everything.